What does it mean for a game to be balanced? According to game designers like David Serlin, for a multiplayer game to be balanced, it means that a reasonable number of gameplay options need to be viable. I would say that the Finals is absolutely balanced in that regard. What other competitive multiplayer titles do you see where teams run swords and throwing knives and flamethrowers and miniguns up against more traditional ARs and SMGs? Don't say COD, I said competitive. But if the Finals is so balanced, then what does it look like at the highest level of competition? Does that same principle apply? And for the Finals Pro scene, how has any singular meta evolved through the chaos? If you're new here, my name is Artie, and I'm a full-time esports caster, and while I've been a professional coach for over 3 years, I just became the very first coach signed to a pro team in the Finals. If you like esports and topics like this, be sure to like and subscribe. I've got plenty more on the way. One day I'll put a sponsor segment here, but for now, just enjoy the video. The Finals is in its year 0 of esports, and with the $100,000 major on the horizon, there is still plenty of esports action that has been unfolding since the very beginning. Right now, the main lifeblood of the esports ecosystem for the Finals is the Pro Hubs League on Pro Hubs TF. And through the Pro League, the incredibly hardworking staff have been keeping tabs on every single weapon, gadget, and specialization that has been used in their official matches. You can find all this data on their website, prohubs.tf. It's linked in the description just below the like button, and here you can see what teams run which weapons, which gadgets, on which maps, and through this, we can see that a meta has clearly evolved in the pro scene. Before we get into it though, I want to talk about why the meta is as it is. You'll notice a distinct lack of flamethrowers, MGLs, CL40s, and whatnot on this list, and that's for a couple pretty distinct reasons. While in the context of Ranked and World Tour, there is such an incredible variety of options that are viable to win both cash out and final round, the understanding is slightly different when team play is more regular and the engagements follow a set of expectations. In Ranked, you might play to how you would like to support your team, or in World Tour, you might create a loadout that allows you to play in the sandbox of the virtual arena in a way that's fun but still competitive. But in the pro scene, you're not just playing to win, you're playing for your team to win. Now, that sounds like a dumb distinction to make, but think about it this way. A pro team that is practicing and scrimming together knows the best way to play around one another. And when you're playing against other pro teams within the same mindset, a very different understanding develops. You're choosing gadgets to get the most value as a team, not as an individual. You're choosing weapons to get the best advantage against the enemy team as they stand as a unit, not as individuals. So while you might be able to copy these loadouts for your ranked game, you won't see what they're really worth unless you can put yourself in that mindset. With that out of the way, let's take a look at the Finals Pro League meta. Right now, this is the meta team composition and their loadouts for the top teams in the Finals Pro League. This is data from every single game that has happened in Season 1 of the PHL, and there's a reason that it has been so stable throughout this time. 1 heavy, 1 medium, and 1 light. In the beginning, there may have been some teams that tried 2 mediums, 2 heavies, or 2 lights, but in the end, the overall balance of the Finals really does merit having 1 of each class on your team. And of course, they each play a separate role, but from Season 6 to Season 7, there has been some change. So let's talk about it as it is now, in Season 7, ahead of the open qualifiers for the Finals Grand Major. You'll notice that there's only 1 choice for the specializations in each class. Light using evasive dash is incredible for movement within fights, as well as mobility when pairing with dashing off pads, for example. For mediums, the dematerializer is best in class for moving through the virtual arena, as well as being able to act both offensively and defensively around an ongoing cash out. For heavy, the Winchclaw opens timings for team damage with its small stun that it has on enemies, but more importantly, the Winchclaw is an essential tool for cash out manipulation, pulling the cash out into the open for easy defense or out of harm's way for more opportune steal. Now let's go through each class one by one and dissect the full loadout. For the heavy, the gadgets remain stable here across both NA and EU. C4, RPG, and Dome. In EU, there have been many teams that have found advantages from running the barricades, either in the place of the Dome or the C4, but this trend hasn't really found much success in NA. The RPG is useful for big opening damage in team fights, usually seen following a team initiating an engagement via a jump pad. But the RPG can also find use as a quick one-shot for stalling the cash out, or as a last resort if a heavy needs a wall to not exist without their medium around. The C4 also finds dual use. While it mostly serves as a tool for preventing a steal when defending a cash out, since it guarantees a drop even if it's shot, teams can also be seen pre-placing C4 where they anticipate an engagement to occur. Blowing it with an RPG means big damage and sometimes near instant deletion of an oncoming team. The dome can seem a bit underwhelming at first. At first glance, teams just delete the dome almost as quickly as it was thrown, especially the way that teams move so tight as units in the Pro League. But even then, the dome finds immense value from blocking those opening shots when it means that your team gets to deal damage first. And at the very top, you see heavies win or lose fights based on the timing of their domes and winches, especially as they relate to the weapons of choice. For the heavy, there are really only two options, the Shack 50 and the SA-1216. No matter how many times they nerf the SA-1216, this gun still fucks. Heavies can mag dump a medium if they hit all 4 shots in a burst, and forget about lights that get too close. And when it comes to heavy on heavy combat, this is where the real skill expression of individual heavies shines through. And like I said before, there is a real strategy to playing around winches and domes, the choices that they make if they winch first or second, and if they dome first or second, and not to mention which team has their mediums or lights closest by to help finish the job. The Shack 50 sounds like the safe option at first. Extra range, ability to pick off lights who normally avoid the shotgun range anyway, but when you look all together at the vast majority of team fights, if an opposing heavy runs the SA-1216 and hits a winch, there's only so much the Shack can do. Now for the light class, this is the class that has come under the most change recently, both with weapons and gadgets. But let's talk about the gadgets. Gateway, Glitch Grenade, and the H+ Infuser. This kit is arguably the most critical aspect of the pro meta and exists solely for the light to play as a support role for the team. The H+ Infuser is the newest addition to the meta, having been introduced in Season 7. And this thing has changed the way that we look at not only team fights, but at the entire way that teams engage. In past seasons, the light player would play away from the core of the heavy and medium, playing fast off angles to pull crosshairs away or distract the enemy light long enough for a fair fight between the heavies and mediums. But since the H+ Infuser has come along, the core now consists of the light and the heavy playing together, as the H+ Infuser can double the lifespan of a pocketed heavy, especially mid-fight. We'll talk about how this change has impacted the medium class as a whole later. The Gateway is imperative for team fights, as well as playing for the objective. With the ability to direct deposit the cash box from the vault to the cash out, teams that can use their utility wisely no longer have to worry about getting intercepted on their commute, and they can maximize their defensive setup time while minimizing downtime. Not to mention getting the medium and heavy across a gap or dropping right into the middle of a team, or my favorite, combining it with extra momentum from a jump pad to get an insane entry to a fight. There have been very few instances of teams not running this gadget. And the Glitch Grenade is a great example of a gadget that has its place in the meta because of the meta itself. It is incredibly context dependent, but equally as valuable as the rest. Remember how important dome shields are for heavies or winches? A well-timed Glitch Grenade can mitigate all of that and grant a team the best advantage in a given team fight. These can also be used to stop mediums from getting a defib off, make a team drop a cash box, and even close an enemy gateway. Now, there is one more piece of kit that has been used before the H+ Infuser that still finds its way into a few games, the Vanish Bomb. Mostly used to cross gaps with the jump pad and get the drop on unsuspecting teams rather than being used as an escape vector, this gadget is very niche to only a couple of teams, but I thought I'd give it an honorable mention. The ARN and the 93R have proven to be the most effective and efficient means to an end for the new light playstyle. The M11 is an honorable mention here as well, with the light playing so close with the heavy, offers a great opportunity to get burst damage on the enemy heavy, but the 93R and the ARN can allow light players to do that while also staying out of winch range. The medium class has been relatively stable, but actually has the most variety that we've seen from any of the classes in the Pro League meta. Two things are required for the medium to run, but the third slot acts as a flex for teams to try and counter specific teams or specific playstyles. The first two slots are for the jump pad and for the defibs. These should both be self-explanatory. The jump pad offers mobility around the arena, quick exits or entries for teams trying to disengage or engage a fight respectively, and for allowing the light player to dash across the pad and get the team a gateway across the gap instantly. In the same vein, the defib is a must pick for the ability to extend a team fight by one person. Even with defib sickness, keeping a heavy or a light in play means that the mediums are still the most important players to look for in any given engagement. First pick on the medium means no quick reses mid-fight. The last slot is where teams have been experimenting pretty heavily. While most teams these days have opted for the goo grenade, as it's a multi-purpose tool for the utility of having a wall wherever one is needed to provide cover for a fight, or just to put a wall behind you to run away. Of course, we also can't forget about that goovement, but it has been extremely effective as stall utility, especially in 3v3 final round format. They can't take your cash out if they're encased in goo. But this slot has also been used by gas mines, which pair very well with the heavy C4 to defensively stall a cash out, or even APS turrets in order to catch glitch grenades, RPGs, or even enemy goo grenades. It's important to note though that when the medium is not running goo grenades, usually that means that the heavy is, in lieu of the RPG or C4. So do with that information what you will. As for weapons, the FCAR has seen a significant fall off in the face of the FAMAS getting a slight buff with the reduction of its visible recoil a few months back, but the FAMAS itself has almost been overshadowed. The pike was a surprising addition to the meta this season. While in the past the pike didn't really see much love given the close proximity the medium carried to the heavy, with a light player on core now, the medium has a lot more reason to play an angle or crossfire now, especially given the fact that the medium players need to try really hard to not be the first person to die in a team fight, just so that they can get a chance to get value out of the defibs. That said, the FAMAS is still able to make impact at a similar range to the pike, and is far more common in final round format. Overall, I'd say that this meta is defined by the H+ Infuser, the Winchclaw, and the goo grenades. Obviously, we could talk about the interactions between the Winchclaw and the SA-1216, we could talk about the Dome Shield and the lights using glitch grenades, but really it is going to be the versatility of goo grenades and the incredible healing factor that is the H+ Infuser that have really shifted the Pro League's meta more than anything else. The key takeaway here is that each gadget that has come through to earn its spot on this list has done so in the face of every other gadget. The meta for the Pro League is defined by the specific plays and counterplays embedded into these loadouts, giving teams the most consistent approach when fighting at the very top of the competitive ladder. And while individually these loadouts might not be as flashy or as exciting as something that you might come across in World Tour or Ranked, the consistency that teams are able to get out of each piece of util across all three players is what makes this current Pro League meta so interesting. But what are your thoughts? If you were to compete, is there anything that you think that you'd change? And does this list influence how you and your team are going to be approaching the open qualifiers for the $100,000 Grand Major? Or maybe you already run this setup in Ranked? Let me know in the comments, and if you've made it this far, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and don't worry, you'll see me around.